slides, or you could technically slow it way down. I mean, sort of whatever you want to do, you can kind of find a way to do it.
So where do the tones come from then? So you have a speed and a rate, and then you have the sort of, what is that? Or
so, let me see if I can.
Oh, that was like classic synth. Sure I heard start. So today, here we are at the Roman Anton podcast studio with an old friend, Bangkok old friend, Andrew Davis.
Good morning, everyone.
For a long time on the basketball team, it just kept coming back David, and I'm trying to figure out if the first basketball jersey we had with you had the wrong name on it.
If it had David, it wouldn't have been the first time.
So Andrew Davis. I was trying to think this week what the thrust of this discussion was going to be today, and there's a lot of different things. So I've known you for 8 years now almost.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Wow, really?
Right, long time.
Oh.
And I thought you've been on the road longer than I have, probably. You prior to living in Bangkok, and Roman Anton podcast studio is in Bangkok, Thailand, and we're in the studio today. And Andrew and I live very close to each other, just a couple blocks away in the Sukhumvit area. So I try and explain things that I know and maybe other people don't know. So Sukhumvit area is a main street that runs through town. And I live on a odd-numbered street. You live on an even-numbered street, which sometimes don't align.
We're across the road.
But we've lived in these neighborhoods since I've known you, and so we've been in this area for a long time. But when did you move here from Taiwan?
Good question. Now you said 8 years I've known you, so now I'm wondering if my math is wrong. I think I've been here for about 7 years, maybe.
No, more.
Have I been here longer? But I spent about 5 years in Taiwan, maybe 3 or 4 in Singapore, a year or 2 in Malaysia, Philippines.
Okay,
so
right.
All around.
Right. I mean, so that to me is, I know a lot of people travel and a lot of people live overseas and a lot of people do stuff, but I was just thinking statistically you're on the far end of that group now, right?
I think so,
right.
Yeah.
At some point you move into maybe not a traveler anymore, you're just on the road, right?
It was never intentional.
Right.
I came here to teach English for a semester, and there you go.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I mean, and I think that will be sort of the nucleus of today's discussion, is just being over here and sort of being a foreigner or being on the road, right? You're from the United States, we could guess, right?
From Baltimore.
Yeah, so East Coast guy. Did you have East Coast music influences, or was it all just sort of national music by the time you were plugged in and listening? Did you have a local band you loved, or were you following Baltimore bluegrass or something?
I don't think so. I think it was always kind of the classics of your Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, that kind of the Beatles, that sort of group. But there was never like a local guy down at the wharf playing tunes or anything like that.
Yeah. So was that radio?
Yeah.
Yeah. And radio, car radio primarily is where you got your input?
That was just before the pre-internet.
Yeah.
I guess that dates me. But.
Were you doing, it's okay. Were you doing cassettes or was it CDs?
It was cassettes, and then it became the CD player connected to the cassette in the car right. That you have to like put on the springs kind of.
Right.
You hit a bump, you skip.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, so I've been through the whole evolution of that.
And so what were your big concert venues? Was RFK Stadium one? Did you go to?
RFK, saw the Rolling Stones there. The Tibetan Freedom concert was there as well.
Right.
For that one.
1994?
I was going to guess 96, but
96,
you
maybe,
could be
maybe
correct
96,
as me.
yeah. Okay. So you traveled, and that wasn't long travel, but that wasn't necessarily your backyard, so you had to get in a car and go and not be drinking or have a designated drive.
2 hours.
Yeah,
2 hours from the house.
Any local venues you went to see music?
I don't think so. There's nothing I can think of offhand.
What is it, the Shaco Slip, or what is it called down there? The Jetty? What is that part of Baltimore over on the water that you cross the bridge and you go?
Oh man,
West End, East.
you're gonna embarrass me of my my Baltimore knowledge here.
Sorry, Shaco Slip is somewhere else.
You've got Fells Point.
Fells Point, that's
area.
it. Fells Point. I'm sorry to wherever Shaco Slip is from. That could be Richmond or something.
Shaco Slip.
All right, so Fells Point. Yeah, I thought there were live music venues down there in that little street with a circle around it that you could park and never get a parking spot. But
right.
Right. Yeah. Well, cool. So I'm not bringing up music to define the rest of this discussion here today, but it's just I never recall talking to you. But when by the time you make your way out of Baltimore and into overseas travel and Taiwan in particular, I recall when I first met you having seen video, internet or YouTuber. You're not the kind of guy who would be carrying your own music videos on your phone, so you must have directed me somewhere, and I must have went to look at it, and I saw live footage of you playing in Taiwan, and I don't recall how I got to that, but then I couldn't find it again. So there's a large legacy piece of your playing and stuff that it may have been one of your friends who showed me.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much I want to put out there here, but a good buddy of mine, that won't drop names here. He recorded everything, and him and his wife did all of that, and then they divorced each other, and she deleted it all. So there's only a couple gems out there still.
Nice.
So,
okay, that's a good testament to
we've got a lost archive of
good prenuptial agreement to
exactly.
secure the video.
Exactly right.
It may not even be worth anything, but it was emotionally a loss, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So those, so you were playing venues in, and I say venues, I'll let you define it, I guess, in Taiwan. Some of them seemed larger, or
yeah, we started by covering Taiwanese songs in Taiwanese. So
Awesome.
here's a group of white guys doing that.
Yeah.
So it was quite weird, and because of that, it was kind of easy for us to get to book gigs and everything, and so we started doing like that, and then we would get booked at the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial and things like this.
Yeah, okay,
yes.
right.
And we played in front of a couple thousand doing that. We had a couple other really big gigs there. There's that famous hotel in Taiwan, the big red roof.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you.
I forget what the name of that is.
Something Grand. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we played at a couple places like that. Just pretty wild shows, and then we kind of took that and we evolved it. Instead of playing like classic Taiwanese music, we started writing our own and doing albums and stuff.
So was you were playing guitar in that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so yours and my initial discussions were around playing and guitar, but also about obviously there's some musicians who make a point of collecting many guitars, but you have a series of instruments you've bought in the places you've been to.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And so that leads to the Kingpin that's on the wall right behind you. And for full disclosure, you and I met, and you had already had this concept of the Kingpin Guitar, which is a Thai-made guitar, a traditional Thai guitar called a pin, P-H-I-N. And so you put the concept together and had some original designs, and then we joined up. You're sort of Woj at Apple, right? So you built it and designed it, and I saw the opportunity. I guess I'm clearly not the Steve Jobs of this story, because we're not anywhere near any of that. But I didn't have a lot of input until you collected a series of demos that you had, just different styles.
Yep.
And we settled on those two, the electric and the acoustic, Soi electric and the Soi acoustic. But what got you thinking? I mean, this is an interesting thing about you, and I think this is really part of the reason why I wanted to have the podcast with you, is you hit the road and you get in these funny spaces, and whenever I watch you respond to crisis or opportunity, you start building something new. Just it's all, there's many examples to it, and so you're going to sit there and say I'm pulling your leg, but I'm not, because I've seen you, and we're going to talk about the synthesizer, which I'm looking at here, which will be your demo. But there's the guitars, there's the recording blast that you went on for about 3 years. You borrowed one of my
I still got that.
Well, whatever. I mean, it's equipment, but you
let me know. I'm gonna keep as long as you let me do that. So.
That's fine. But you recorded these extremely elaborate songs over a period of time where you just disappeared and you just put your head down and do these things, and then you did it again with an investment theory.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And we'll talk about that later, maybe.
Yeah, we can get into that one. Maybe that's better off the record, but
we can't give stock trading advice.
I owe you an apology for some point.
It didn't work exactly as planned, but you just work. And I've said this in other podcasts to people, and I wonder if it sounds like I'm trying to flatter or pull one over on someone, but you work in a very different fashion than I work. I mean, you go, you attack stuff that you're creating and you build it. And then it turns into sort of epic proportions.
It's hit or miss for sure.
But you go in, so you're not, to me, you don't seem to me distracted by, the common distractions, the internet or, things that sort of hold you down and distract you and keep you apart, or you assimilate that into your building process, right? So I wondered what it is, because you did the pin thing just whatever. I want to see if I could get attention drawn to a local sales market for something that's so cool.
Sure. I mean, part of the pin thing is that Thailand, the pin is the coolest instrument in Southeast Asia, in my opinion. It looks cool. It sounds cool. It's easy to play because of just the format. It's if you play guitar or something like that, it's kind of set up. You're comfortable with it the moment you play it. And so every place I've ever gone, whether it's Myanmar, Indonesia, you name it, I always try to find that instrument and sort of build a collection from there.
Uh-huh.
So I've got a pretty weird collection, kind of eclectic. But in Thailand was weirdly the hardest one to find a pin.
Yeah.
You couldn't find it in English. There wasn't the classic music street or anything like that. So
Right.
So I figured might as well see if we can fill that gap in some way.
Well, and that's such a funny comment, because I recall in one of the earlier podcasts talking to someone about, you go to town, you look for the music street, you look for the venues where there's live music, right? And so
Sure.
You and I probably do the same, and it's not probably the best cultural awareness moment for us to go look for Music Street, because by and large, our template is the Guitar Center.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So we want 1,000 sets of drumsticks, 50 different strings. Yeah, and that's partly what we're looking for, is to know we can find gear over here.
Sure.
But we're also looking for this other thing, which you mentioned, which is the local, traditional instruments.
Yeah, I think I've just always found these fascinating, kind of just, these guys, as you know, they're in different scales, different tunings, different,
Right.
You name it. And I think just the guitar is awesome, but it's also limiting in some way as well.
Yeah. So, I think what you're alluding to is something you and I have talked about, so we don't say it to each other anymore, but it's the easy tuning. So it's the pin is a E, B, E tuning, or E, A, E tuning, E, B, E, or E, A, E, or any other version you want. But when you sit and put your fingers on that fretboard and you move it around to figure out the chords, it's even different than a ukulele, right? It's a ukulele. You just sort of can't. You can make a lot of mistakes if you don't know what you're doing. On the pin, there's a lot of latitude, right?
Yeah. So the ukulele, it's fully chromatic. You can find
Right.
any note you want, but
Right.
a pin is in some way it's limiting, which is also creates opportunity. I don't know quite how that works, but it seems to.
Yeah.
And this tuning is sort of common in Southeast Asia. I don't know anything about the history or whatever, but a lot of Cambodian instruments have it. So it must be kind of a Siam sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's as if you took a piano and just stripped away all the black keys or whatever. So you can't really make a mistake, although there are a couple spots you can.
Yeah,
So,
second fret I think about, and the third fret. So
Yeah.
we're no man's lands. But yeah, it's interesting. And so, fret distance is different, and you're using the top string, so it's very light and bendy.
yeah, and it's sort of created its own style of music where players, instead of they have to work within that more confined realm. So you get a lot of these, like, this sort of, it's almost like a 1960s psychedelic feel where you have guys experimenting with modes, just switching modes throughout the song and things like that, which is really, really interesting, I think.
Yeah, well, that's what I like about the Soi Electric is the 3 settings with pedals really give you different sounds when you plug in. So there's a lot of variety on ours and on others that I've seen.
Something about it just works really well with a delay and a reverb, or it just has that like...
Yeah. So we went into the studio to record a couple of songs, and one of them is in a live show that we did at Speaker Box, and I don't know if you've seen it. I probably didn't send it to you. That's how much we communicate sometimes. I don't find that you and I find Line or WhatsApp very practical way of getting in touch.
I'm extremely bad at it.
We just send messages, but... yeah, so I mean, so that's the pin, and so you create this concept, and I meet you. This was earlier when I met you, and we were playing on a basketball team here. We did a podcast with Ike Nwankno earlier, and so the people who've listened to Roman Anton podcast have heard about Ike, and if y'all remember from that podcast, I talked about being on a team, and Andrew and I were on an original team that was called Internations, and then we changed it, but that's back when we met, so that was a long time ago.
Yep.
And we'd play around town, but we were talking about this Kingpin thing slightly after that. And we had played guitars together and stuff, and you'd come to see Roman Anton play in the meantime. But we've developed this out, and so now we have the posters, and we have shirts, and we got guitars that we sell, and so it's a long way away. But I've noticed... once we got it done, you really seemed a lot less interested, and I thought, yeah, he did it. He's going to go on to his next thing, and sure enough, you started coming up with a whole new batch of songs, and then the synthesizer, and I thought, you just need to be creating. You know, I mean, we there's a lot more to do with this, but it's funny how like you're the design guy who wants to keep rolling, right?
I mean, I can't explain that. It's not intentional or anything, but
I'm not unhappy. You know, there's not a lot.
I mean, but I'm also really excited because I have a lot of these kind of random ideas and things like this, and a lot of them just don't ever come to life and things like this. And this one's like, I mean, you've made this look phenomenal, like with the build of it and everything. I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I mean, you were involved, so it's all of us, but. You know, I'm looking at Rath and Frank over in the back of the room. They're always over there helping out with the cameras and stuff. And you guys went up to, I'm not going to name areas. This isn't a marketing plan here, but you did some fun stuff that I stayed out of a little bit. I tend to get a little heavy-handed on some of that stuff, but you've gone up to meet the pin maker several times, and you've gone up and helped the design, but that seems to be one of the more authentic, fun parts with you and Frank and Rath hitting the road to go up and talk to the guys and go see those music communities.
Yeah, and those communities are quite interesting as well. They, I don't know how much you want to talk about this.
It's up to you.
But they, I mean, it's an entire village built around making instruments, and I think I've told you before, there's a couple old ladies on the porch sewing bags. There's a couple guys there tuning reed pipes. There's a group of guys we spoke to who are working on pins and working on different instruments. So, I mean, I think as far as authentic instruments go, I mean, we've kind of found found the heart of it here in Thailand, which is quite fortunate. So,
and so when you're up there, you had mentioned they make, what is that, the pan?
I think what they call it, a pan flute.
Well, it's the one that's
no idea.
Horizontal, right? And you squeeze it. And so that really is just a musical enclave. You know, it's not just a guitar thing. Like you said, there's a variety of things, and then the associated straps. And
I think Raph has some pictures where as you drive under the gate, it's got a pin you drive under and the flute and the whole thing.
Right. And so are there hotels in that town? And did you stay in hotels, or did you have to drive outside and go back to the main road?
I think it was like a 2-hour drive or longer from Udon Thani, I think.
Yeah. So it's just a remote location, and so you know, that to me seemed to be where your head was at, like at the wellhead, you know, at the source.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think if you're going to do it right, those are the guys you want to find to have them do that.
Right, and then I thought I'm interested as well, but I thought, you know, my clear, if I have a skill set or my clear contribution is going to be on the other end, and so I think the best product came from you guys going up there and sort of putting hands on.
Yeah, I think it's been a good kind of, we've divvied up roles quite well, I think.
And so when you move that, like I said earlier, I've watched these processes you've gone through. When you've recorded your music, that's a little different scenario. That's you alone in a room, right? That's you.
That's me in the bedroom telling the wife to type quietly. Yeah.
So does that do you go on like benders when you do that? Do you go hours and hours and hours, or are they short blasts?
I'll do short blasts of recording, but then the benders will be in the production side. So once I get everything down, then I'll stay up all night and just work on it again and again. So
yeah, and I gather that's the same thing you did when you put the synthesizer together.
Yeah, the synthesizer is kind of funny. A buddy of mine in New York, he started making one, and the moment I saw a picture of his on Instagram, I was like, there it is, the instrument I've been looking for.
Okay, so Instagram, so that was in the last 10 years that he did this.
So yeah, he probably 4 years ago, I'd say.
So more recent than not, but not
sure
yesterday.
And I mean, I've never been interested in synthesizers at all. I've always thought they were kind of cold and a little bit inhuman. They didn't have the expression of a guitar or something like that. But I feel like now I was totally wrong about that. They are interesting in a very different way. It's music that doesn't always sound good, and that makes it good.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's talk about sort of, I guess, we were talking, and the reason why I asked about Baltimore and brought up sort of what were you seeing and where is just sort of identify the time period a little bit without asking your birthday. So we went through an era of the introduction of the sort of mass-produced post-Moog keyboards.
Sure. Yep.
That, I think of like Take On Me or those songs that were good synthesizer songs, right?
It's the 1980s. It's like this.
Right.
Are they good? I guess they're good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Sure.
What else could you have done that with? Right? So
sure.
It's awesome. So I just heard an acoustic version. I think they did it in Deadpool 2, an acoustic version of that song. So it was fantastic. But anyway.
Okay.
So when I say synthesizer, people think 88 key, 66, some small. You don't have keys on your synthesizer.
Yeah. There's no keyboard. There's no. I kind of think of it as if you have 100 guitar pedals in front of you, but you don't want to step on them at all, and you don't want to turn any knobs. You want them each to turn each other's knobs for you.
Right.
So it kind of becomes this this random process.
Yeah.
You pick a lot of the parameters, and it sort of does what it wants sometimes, and it'll get away. Sometimes it'll give you something much better than you ever expected. So.
Well, and I think this is where I wanted this to go, because that had to be the answer if you don't have keys. Like, who's driving? And you say the machine is driving.
Sure. Yep.
But you're driving because you built it, so you put together the constituent parts, and you.
Well, you're driving. However, sometimes you add so many variables into a equation that you can no longer predict the outcome.
Right.
So.
Okay, so if I'm asking then, and if we look at your creation process, so we've gone from pin, which is a three-dimensional, three-stringed object that you can carry on your back and wander the earth. The music you make, you can put on your phone and listen to. And now you've started to move into this world of algorithm, which is a fourth dimension in my mind, is this thing starts going on its own, as did sort of the investment theory you had, or the hypothesis you came up with. And
sure.
Your inventions are getting more elaborate and more...
eclectic, maybe?
Well, but like... the sort of wizard behind the curtain isn't really the thing. It's like you put it into the machine and watch it go, right?
Well, the kind of next evolution I would like to take with this is I really want to build one of these into an acoustic guitar. Yeah. That's my sort of next step is to. It's almost as if you've seen these guys who play acoustic guitar and they have a looper or something like that.
Charlie McScallywag was in 2 weeks ago, and he did a great job.
And they're quite good. They're great musicians.
I love listening to it when it works right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my whole thought process is, if there was a half modular synthesizer in the back end of that guitar and your looper was playing back into that, then you would have a ton more control of everything you can do and opportunity. So
well, I'm assuming that's out there, and I would assume on the Radiohead level there's a pedal version of that, like you've talked about, right?
Sure.
And then on the Muse version of that, he's got it sort of at the base of his guitar where he can put his fingers on and,
right.
Can do arpeggios and things. But what you're talking about is like a whole brain in the back of your guitar that's going to...
An analog system in the back that
right.
can kind of capture what you're doing.
Right.
Capture it, loop it, warp it, whatever you want to do, kind of. And then it would be a modular setup, so you could kind of change the programming as you please for any song.
Right. And so do you ever, do your strings still operate as strings, and do your strings still play the standard sound? And can you, in your mind, do they run together, or are they parallel, or are they binary?
Yeah. It's kind of like what I do now. I'll set up the machine. I'll take a half an hour and just get it playing something that I think is quite cool, and then I'll break out the acoustic guitar and play along with it. And then you can kind of get it to sort of be your orchestra for you, I guess, and then jam along with it. And so I just want those in one box.
Right.
So.
Right. And I guess I'm trying to bring this to a place there's DJs, there's electronic dance music that's super technical and beyond my comprehension, and I've even watched some of it and heard some of it, and it's
fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is different in that it's sort of, there's a randomness to it, right?
Sure. It's an analog system at the end of the day. So
right.
so it does have glitches. It will detune itself like a guitar string sometimes.
Right.
But in a sense, I've come to realize that's kind of the beauty sometimes. You see a lot of these production guys on YouTube and things that are like, oh, here's how you make a song from Logic.
Right.
This sample, that sample, and they sound great, sure.
Yeah.
But there's something that misses, I think, that John Lennon was the master of, which is just there are minor errors in there, but that's the beauty, kind of. So
Yeah.
I think these machines maintain that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I maybe that's the summary of sort of the creative processes. I wonder, you wonder what the next thing is, and is sort of the thinking machine, is this what we go to see at some point?
Yeah, sure.
Do you put the guitar on stage and then walk away?
Have you ever heard those? There's a couple YouTube videos.
No, I can assure you I haven't. Whatever this is.
Purely AI written songs.
Yeah,
they sing, they write the lyrics, they're
Yeah.
composed. I think there's a producer in there at the end, but they're great.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah.
So.
It's coming, right? It's if they have all of the known variations inside their head.
Yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, you're playing in a scale.
Yeah.
There are tropes we rely on anytime we write a song and things like this. So you can. There's algorithms for all of that, I'm sure. So
yeah, Frank and I actually just edited a podcast that's coming out tonight, where we sort of talk about that, and Frank mentioned his style of writing, and then I mentioned mine, and Shogo mentioned his, and then I did the stupid thing as a podcast moderator to so which do you like better, which is just complete vanity.
Well, I
right?
like mine.
Mine's the best, right? But I think the question was more designed like, when you write a lot or have a lot of your own stuff in your head, and then you have a new, a writing partner or band, they have their thing. It really sometimes jolts you out of your routine to
Sure.
Right, especially when it's new and it's good, and you're like, oh, that's so much better than mine. And then you have the envy part, but you got to put the envy part aside.
Sure.
And you just have that new composition. And so I'm going to bring this back to your show. Before COVID, certainly, so more than a year ago now. Mm-hmm. So maybe a year and 5 months, you played a show at Queen Bee after us or before us, or maybe a different night?
I think it was a different night, but I don't recall now.
Yeah, so maybe we didn't play.
That's Monday night.
Yeah, okay, so he played on a Monday night, so that's not us.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And we showed up and helped and filmed and did stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Frank, for setting that up.
So, belated thanks. That's how we communicate when we show up.
17 months late.
But we know you mean it, so we love you for that. So, but you brought up a much smaller version of your synthesizer that you had a really nice wooden case on that you had handmade or combo wooden metal. And you went up on stage with it, and you had a Fender, and you had some other guitars. I mentioned Fenders. You had a 6-string electric rock and roll guitar, or whatever we call that. It could be jazz guitar. and you got up and played with your old writing partner or your old song buddy, and you had the synthesizer on stage.
Now that was a strange show because I hadn't played with him for a couple of years,
Right.
and we had, I think, 3 days of preparation before, and we decided we'd do 7 songs of material we've never done before.
Yeah.
So I think we wrote 2 songs for that just in those 3 days. The rest were, I think there was 1 cover in there maybe, and we just kind of tried to put it together in 3 days. How much can we do then?
Uh-huh.
So even though I had the synthesizer, I didn't really use it as much as I wanted to for that. In retrospect, I wish I'd kind of used it a little bit more just as like a kind of backbeat for us. But yeah, it was fun. It was great.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it all came together at parts.
It
Maybe
did.
not,
No, it was a
but,
lot of fun because you wrote those songs that weekend, and some of them, I've seen some clips that you posted, and I have the video that we've kept vaulted away, and I think we got you copies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
So, sounded good. I mean, it sounded very nice, but in the synthesizer thing, but I started to really understand your madness and creative process. Not madness. I call you that to your face because I think we're friends, but you're bigger than I am, so I better stop saying that on video. The fury of your creative process is you guys wrote untold number of songs over 3 days and then played them on a Monday night. It was awesome, and I was like, wow, there he goes again. Just this sort of blast of creation, and with a synthesizer, that's just a curveball because it can go any direction you want, right?
Well, we sat in your house to prepare most of it and drank half of your booze. So
That's all right.
Thank you.
That's what that part of the house is for. It's the creative booze drinking, falling over part of the house.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. And so, that was interesting to see. And so this brings me to, how you're over in Asia, in Bangkok in particular here, trying to build this thing. And where do you go about picking up your parts? I mean, do you order them online? And is this some trade of some guy in Russia sending you the faceplate of something because they're the only ones who make it? Or
Well, actually, we're quite lucky to be here. One of the cheaper and better wholesalers in the world is here in Thailand. Huh. So shipping is like
wholesalers of what?
Resistors, capacitors, right. All the ICs, all the different components or whatever. So there's a whole weird sub community of guys who make module PCB boards, and they'll kind of come up with their own ideas and all sorts of weird stuff.
What does PCB mean?
I don't know what it means.
What does it mean when you say it though?
It's the circuit board, like the green circuit boards you would see with all the little parts on it.
And so is that in my laptop? Do I have one of those in there?
Yeah. Okay. So you'll have a SMD with the tiny little parts on those.
Okay.
But these have kind of the larger resistors and stuff like that.
And so you're saying a lot of this is probably made in Asia and exported around the world, but you can get your parts here when you're scrapping it together. So
here you can get it. You can get the pieces pretty cheaply, and then you kind of dig through this sub community of guys who in their basement make these weird. One of my favorite guys. He just released one where it's a module with an infrared light indicator or something.
Okay.
So you can control your modular just by holding a lighter closer and further from it, which I mean is weird, like it's strange, but it's I think that's interesting.
Of course you do. And so do you have it on the?
I don't have that one yet. I ordered it.
And what is it? I mean, and could you envision yourself performing live with the lighter and putting any faith in the lighter-driven modular?
Never.
No.
Never. I think it's fun. I think it's creative. Mm-hmm. But would I put myself out on stage and put out music like that? Yeah. I'd be
worried.
I wouldn't be confident to put that out.
Yeah. But so you have designers, and so is this a growing industry or a dying industry, or does this turn into the digital world, or is there an interface to that, or how does this survive?
I don't know.
Right.
There's guys that do it and make really nice modules out there, really kind of high end stuff. There's a module company called Mutable Instruments, and they're one of the most interesting companies I've ever encountered. It's a lady who makes the modules, and the minute she makes them, she'll produce 200 of them, sell them, and then open source everything. And so the whole community, she'll make a little bit of money, and then everything else, just all the other builders around the world will just start making them, building them themselves. She makes nothing, and that's kind of their job. So there's 1,000 people out there all building these parts that she created with no licensing or anything, and that's how she does it.
Where is she?
I think in France.
Huh.
So
is she French, do you think?
Yeah, French.
Okay. So
and just like a complete genius. I mean, she's beyond genius. Just the way she puts the stuff together, she's cutting edge of it for sure. But it just blows my mind that she's decided to put it out like that. And I mean, clearly she'd make a lot more money. I mean,
yeah.
I think on my machine I probably have 5 of her modules, none of which I bought from her. So.
Yeah. So we should give a shout out to her wherever she is. But so these things, she makes 200. How does she make them?
I think she'll get I'm not sure exactly, but I think there's companies that you can get to lay out your PCBs and put all the components on and everything like that. So
like a 2-volume knobs, a tone knob, or the words put on there.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
She'll find factories. I'm sure
Okay.
she has some kind of supply chain for that. So, but yeah, pretty interesting. Just I've never seen a business like that in my life.
Right.
So.
But it clearly is all an art that's been around for a long time, right?
Yeah, I think some of the Moog stuff back in the 60s is where it started from. I believe so. I could be wrong about this, but
okay.
But yeah, and there's now there's just so many people who have taken it in so many different directions that it's pretty. I think it's pretty interesting.
Huh. Okay. Well, good. So, all right. So let's maybe switch directions a little bit and talk for a minute, and then we'll try and pull that over here and set up the camera so we can take a look at this and have you turn it on. What's your take on living abroad and sort of getting around? Is Bangkok an easy place for you to live and negotiate, or is it hard, or is it what you'd expected, or is it you've been to a lot of different places and you've stopped here, so ease of living high?
Yeah, I think it couldn't be more convenient. Kind of. I mean, here, especially in the COVID era, they'll bring anything you want to your house. I mean, grocery stores will deliver. I don't think you really need. It's the only country I've lived in where I haven't really attempted to speak the language at all, and haven't had an issue with that. So yeah, I think as far as that goes, it couldn't be easier.
Yeah, and you're not saying that out of some pride. I think.
Oh no! I'm ashamed to not to not speak it.
Well, we've talked about the difficulty of learning it, and all in its right time and place. And I'm doing my share of learning the alphabet and learning how to say things a little better, so I don't get in trouble. But
how's it go? Can you speak at all?
Well, yeah, I won't do it here, but it's tough for me still, and I'm hesitant to say anything on the show that could not be correct. So keep it good. But so the stuff availability for your hobbies you seem to have access to, and you seem to thrive in this community, and I see you walking up and down the street because we're close by, and I'll honk when I drive by, and you probably don't even turn your head because there's a lot of cars honking and stuff, but it seems like you acclimate very well here, and you find stuff and look for stuff and are aware of stuff at a pretty high level.
I mean, I hope so. I guess I'm adaptable for that.
Yeah.
I think you have to be to kind of live out here for a long time.
Yeah, I've always thought that the front end of your street is a real microcosm of sort of the way I picture you in Bangkok, which is Sukhumvit Soi 8, right? It's a very cool entryway to a street, sort of a wider street opening because it's you can do a U-turn underneath the overhead train system, and so it has a little bigger gap there. So there's sort of a lot of traffic gymnastics happening at that corner.
Absolutely.
Motorcycles and U-turns and fast-moving things. But that always seems to have had just a lot of activity at the front end of the street. And the first couple of restaurants and stores on the front end have seemed to have been there a long time. And it's just a pretty cool-looking street. Yeah,
I think it's a good spot. I mean, like you said, the traffic rules are a little loose out in the front, but since it's a one-way street, you don't have a ton of traffic. There's nice bars there, nice restaurants.
So does the back end of that street actually go out to the park, or can you not get out of the back end?
You can walk out the back, but you
Right.
can't drive out
Right.
the back, which
Right.
is probably perfect.
Right.
And then I think they're doing a brand new park there. So they have the Queen Surrogate Park in the back. That's the one with the big lake. And then there's another one, which I don't know what it's called at all, but there's another one probably just as big. They're putting in right next to it.
Yeah, and so we did. Charlie and I went out and stood on the Green Mile back there, whatever they call that path.
Oh yeah.
And we were probably almost right behind your street there. We went down the first highway overpass off of Dindang and came down. So we were out there. But I like that stretch. So in addition to being close to that thing, which is very cool and
Which is
very
great,
safe,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
It's a cool street. And so you seem to have identified a cool spot, which is sometimes hard to do, or sometimes you get stuck next to the fire department or sometimes, the garbage department or something.
I think it's almost more luck than strategy on that one.
It's sort of like the algorithm.
Yeah, we
Okay.
just kind of got lucky, I think. So
Yeah.
And then the street's gotten a lot nicer since we've been there as well. So
Yeah. And so do you travel much around Thailand? Do you do much travel?
usually not, but during COVID, we because the kids were out of school, we went up to Chiang Mai for a month or two. We went down to Hua Hin for 2 months.
Nice.
So part of that gap I didn't talk to you or didn't
Yeah,
see you
that's
was because
okay.
I was
Away.
all over Thailand. So
Where did you hit the beach in Hua Hin, or were you close to the beach, or where did you stay?
yeah, we rented a villa pretty close, and then with a pool and everything, so the kids would wake up, do their online school, and then
Nice.
yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah, so there's sort of a horseshoe beneath Bangkok of coastlines. One is east and one is west, or
Yep.
I'm not sure if that's exactly right, but Hua Hin's on one side and then the Pattaya is on the other side. And Hua Hin, to me, is a very enjoyable place to go, and it's close to Bangkok.
Yeah, Hua Hin's quite nice.
Excuse me, I tend to say that on I don't know if I've said it on earlier podcasts. I'm just trying to think, but it seems like there's more ties from Bangkok that go down that direction for their recreational activity, just to hang out. So a lot of families head down that way, it seems.
Yeah, sure. It's pretty. I think it's pretty family friendly. I've only been there during COVID and everything.
Okay.
So
Yeah, but nice, huh? So it's fun. So you did you go in the bay there, the ocean water, or did you just use the pool?
primarily the pool.
Was it wind time when you were down there? Did they have the kite surfers down there? Because there's a whole new community down there.
Yeah, we did see one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty cool. Pretty. That's kind of a wild sport, huh?
Yeah, I've taken lessons in various places.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I have, but I didn't like the tension of those wires in my fingers, and sometimes I thought, I'm not saying that musicians don't kite surf, but
Sure.
it definitely felt like an off finger was in the future if I kept doing it the way I was doing it, because it's just so much tension on those wires.
Did you ever get massive air? Every once in a while, you
I
see them get
did.
like 40 feet of air. Or something.
I didn't get that, but I got massive air along with massive crashing, and it just seemed like it was...
Oh, I bet once you crash from resetting, must take you an hour.
Yeah, I don't want to go over the misery of this, but there seems to be a lot of folks who do it with a lot of grace and ease. It's just those first couple of lessons are tough.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd say it's roughly equivalent in my mind and my learning curve to snowboarding.
Okay. All right.
Going fakie or getting switching directions is.
It takes some time. It does take some time to get used to.
Yeah. But
I mean, skiing is easy. It's intuitive. It's fine.
I
But
think you still have to have some strength. But anyway, there's a whole wind community that tracks that around Asia. So I'm sure there's various times that I brought that up simply because of Hua Hin, and it's nice to go down there when it's windy, I think.
yeah.
But
I'll tell you another good one. Have you ever been to Sukhothai?
Sukhothai have?
I think that's everybody goes to Ayutthaya
Right.
for the history or the old
Yeah,
city or
sure,
whatever.
sure.
I felt like Sukhothai was way cooler.
It was the original capital, right?
Yeah,
Way back when. Yeah, so there's a lot of history up there. Sure. Well, good. Well, that's cool. So you're getting around. Well, let's do this. Why don't we think about taking a break here, Franco and Rath? We'll try and set up the synthesizer. Does it have a name?
Its name is Tunethulhu.
Tunethulhu. That's a Thai name, it sounds like.
There's the Cthulhu myth, the Lovecraft Cthulhu, the guy with the octopus.
Okay.
And I guess part of his legend is he sleeps under the earth and dreams, and that's how the whole thing. So I felt like the bass got so low that you can kind of create that
Okay.
you don't hear it but you feel it sort of thing.
So this is a friendly spirit in the computer, is what we're saying.
I suppose. So
All right. Well, let's take a break here, shut down, and we'll bring out Tunethulhu.
Tunethulhu.
I got the other guy.
Tunes.
Tunethulhu. There we go. Tunethulhu. And Andrew Davis on Roman Anton Podcast. Thanks.
I hope that went okay.
Yeah, it's good. I follow us. Okay, we are back in the Roman Anton Podcast studio. We have Tunethulhu. Tunethulhu.
That's my logo over there.
I got the Tunethulhu logo over here.
Yeah, you have to have a
We'll
logo.
show you guys that later.
Need a meaningless logo is important.
So we're sort of listening to what Andrew Davis has done here, but Tunethulhu is up and running. And what would you call these wires that you're connecting the various boards with?
So these are patch cables.
Okay.
It's kind of like if you took your computer and just took it all apart, so you have your graphics card, all the other pieces, and then you rewire it every time you want to make a song. So should the graphics card come before, this is maybe a bad analogy, before the whatever, so you kind of mix up the route.
All right, and so these various silver panels on here are different boards.
So every one is sort of its own function.
All right.
So this one here I was playing with before is the reverb.
All right. I thought it was the reverb up there.
So this is the reverb. This one just goes out to the reverb box. But this is your reverb control. You can do endless feedback until it'll show everyone.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
But yeah, each one kind of has its own. Sorry, I'm distracted. I hear it.
That's okay.
Each one kind of has its own function, I suppose.
Okay.
And so when you build a system like this, you'll kind of decide like what functions do I want to be part of what I'm doing, what am I trying to achieve, am I just trying to make wacky noises or do something serious, and then from there you kind of build it as you need.
So you just changed a tone sound. So I'm trying to figure out what is the board or panel on here that's making it so quick and arpeggiated.
So this is the sequencer.
Okay.
So you could, and I mean you can vary that however you want, whether you want to add slides or you could technically slow it way down. I mean, sort of whatever you want to do, you can kind of find a way to do it.
So where do the tones come from then? So you have a speed and a rate, and then you have the sort of, what is that board?
So, let me see if I can.
Oh, that was like classic synth.
It gets pretty cheesy at times.
That's awesome. What do you need, Frank?
Move closer. See?
The mic? Okay.
So yeah, you kind of start with a couple basic waveforms. So this would be just a basic sine wave, and then you could add a saw wave, square wave. So you kind of decide what you want, and then you start to combine them and change them as you want. You can just add noise into everything, kind of giving it that snare effect.
I like that.
And then from there, you can just filter things in, filter things out. The sky's kind of the limit there of how much delay, reverb,
So this was the sequencer, you said that was the speed one?
So the sequencer will, so right now, I mean, you kind of pick basic things, like, so this scale is minor, but I can switch it to major.
Right, I can hear that in the background.
You can see I can hear it a little better. I don't know why it's so kind of obnoxious sounding at the moment. So yeah, you can play with the scales, you can play with the timelines, so you can kind of make it linger on a note if you want, which it's not seeming to do for some reason.
Yeah, it is. It's like the third and fifth note. Yeah.
So yeah,
Crazy.
so you can sort of get it to do whatever you.
Yeah, and so if let's just let you go for a minute without talking, and maybe you can turn the board volume up a little bit so we can hear it louder, and then run through the various things you just showed me, starting with the arpeggio speed, and then so maybe give the overall volume up either on my board or your board. I'm not sure which one.
Okay. Well, let me see here. I feel like I kind of have a bad starting spot here.
No, it's good. It's good. Go for it. Just do whatever you need.
So basically, you have two things. You have your control voltage and you have triggers. So any of the triggers you can. So there's your kind of hi-hat. You can vary your hi-hat however you want. Add another trigger for your kick. You can hear that.
Yeah.
And it should kind of stay in time as you go.
All right, let's keep going. So DJ for us a little bit. See what happens. Take us through some of the
Okay. All right.
pressure time.
Pressure time. Here we go. Well, I've got to do this here. So we'll take that signal that we just had. So we'll keep it. Here it comes again. Try to keep that, and then we'll mult it. So one thing I like to do is kind of take that out, multiply it, run it through. Sorry. So multiply it. So now you've got two copies of it. Just kind of pick a random preset here. Hear that at all? I'm not sure why it's so quiet. Can you hear that, or is it my headphones?
No, it's good.
I'm not
It's
sure.
It's both. Yeah, the headphones are pretty intense. It's all high end.
So yeah, you can. So there's something there.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, you can vary it as much as you want. I'm not quite sure which direction to sort of take this here.
Let's get it. Let's pick up the beat and pick up the volume and pick up the speed.
Okay. All right. There you go. This is ugly though. It's
all right.
Let's see here. How about this? We'll play with drums and CD for a minute. So
All right. No
we'll
problem.
Ready?
You just yank these out and your board holds together, huh?
Restart.
You're breaking all the rules of computer stuff. Just unplugging. Okay, just yanking them out.
Just pull it out of there.
There we go. This guy came with on that last one.
That's okay. I guess we don't need him. So this will kind of give you a good example of how you can sort of control something.
All right.
So you've got run.
So you got 3 cables and 4 cables and no sound. Now we get it. I
So-
like that. I'm with you on that.
So you've got this piece here is sort of like 4 guitar amplifiers at once. So
Okay.
you can turn it high or low, or you could let it control it for you. So this blinking light here would be so now it's like somebody's got your guitar amplifier and they're turning it up and down for you. So you could apply that to anything. So you can take the parameters of this sound.
Nice.
So now you kind of got some automation to it. And you can control the automation. You can decide, do I want a pattern? Do I want something random?
I like that, distorted. What was that?
Just let the note go. You'll get a...
Is that this distortion one? Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's excellent there.
So
2001.
it's kind of like finding that sweet spot. There's all these sweet spots, and the key is to not get stuck on
The hideous ones.
the bad ones.
I like the tone of that one now.
So yeah, so that's kind of better. Now you could take that and you could do the same thing where you run it through a scale and
Yeah, minor and major it.
Yeah.
Arpeggiate it differently.
So you could. So clock that to keep it in time.
Yellow is keep it in time.
Sometimes. So now it's gonna kind of go with the.
Oh, just watch it with the key. Nice.
Okay. So now just bounce between two notes, and then everything else should change from there. Oh,
Nice.
there you go. Like it kind of does what it wants sometimes, and you can continue to just add and subtract from that.
Nice.
And,
Here, let's hear that one for a second.
so I think that's all right.
Totally legit.
And then, because I always do this, you have to add a hi-hat on top of everything. You have to add the hi-hat.
Any good Tunethulhu user goes hi-hat.
Yeah, you gotta put that right in there.
I think you blocked your headset into the hi-hat.
So you're there. Magical.
Nice. Watch that chord there. You let
Yeah.
yourself in.
That's okay. It's all right. It's by design.
Nice. So let's just hear this. Can you give me a little more volume on our board or on here?
Yeah, sure. So let me try to do with this one.
Let me just hear this for a second. So we can hear this at home because it's very elaborate what's happening right now.
Oh, that's all right.
That's nice.
So yeah, sometimes like a tiny turn can. Very jazzy. So, like I was saying before, you can take that and multiply that signal.
Malt.
Uh-oh, unless your cable's not long enough. That's why you got one of these.
The purple is for the long reach.
You know, I used to have a system where it's like, this is for triggers, and this is for whatever. Nah, out the window.
I could tell that's more your thinking process right there.
Totally out the window. So, we'll go back to what we had. And then I'll try this again. Where I'll put it through kind of a reverb delay computer. Let's see what we get. Not through this end, so everything's running through this.
So can you hold it up for the camera again? That's just a wire in there.
So it's just a series of 3 springs, and it runs through the spring.
And so you actually plucked it.
So yeah, you can. It gets quite loud if you want. Yep.
That's awesome. That is like raw tech.
So yeah.
I really like that. The space sound to it. It's so distant and remote.
Yeah, it does. It's almost like a perfect sort of soundtrack machine.
Right. That right there.
Yeah. Huh? And this is my problem: is you get carried away doing this and you stop recording.
Right. No songs.
Yeah, you get no.
Sounds like a Coldplay album right there, right?
So. The same thing. Once you have that multiplied signal, you can take that and just run it. I like to run it through all sorts of different stuff. So this is like the most complex delay. It's this beautiful delay that.
This panel here.
Yep.
That
Isolate that. You can freeze on something, kind of grab it, so grab a slice of time, keep it, get away from it. Kind of go back. So yeah, it's just kind of endless playing, really.
Are we still in a major key?
So yeah, we're still, let's see, yeah, we're still major
I'm
stuff.
feeling optimistic still. If you read that minor, I'm going to jump out the window. That's
So there's minor, however, we're just on 2 notes back and forth. It's just there's so many other things changing that it's hard to tell there's just 2. One other one, this one is built by a guy that lives in Wahid. He actually designed this with his company 4MS, and then I guess he moved down to Wahid, so he lives down there, which is quite cool. So I've talked to him quite a bit about this. 4MS, and this is a spectral multiband resonator. So
Spectral multiband resonator.
the SMR. So I see it as like the carnival sound.
Here it comes. Carnival.
Yep. And then the same thing, you would take something like that, and this is a little ugly, but take that and just kind of automate it.
Spooky.
Yeah.
It's like a horror movie.
So yeah, there's another guy, one of my, let me get away from that one and back to the other one while I talk. There's another guy in Australia. This guy's he's kind of a genius, and I guess he's a big mathematician. So he takes all sorts of different equations. One of them he took the electrode analysis of a squid's brain and used it for something. This one here, which he calls sloth, is the butterfly effect, where you take something, you can kind of track where it goes, but it's chaos and eventually it becomes random. So he built one from that. So it's this evolving random sort of thing.
You're locking yourself in again.
So that's just the same thing I had slowed down, but I applied that, so it should
Nice.
So yeah, somewhere in there.
It's like a thick middle to it.
Almost a touch of Nine Inch Nails in that one. A touch of. Gotta be hi-hat. Gotta. every track needs a hi-hat. That's a.
All right, let's let it run for a second. See what happens.
Trying to think if there's anything else I can.
I think you've done a great job. Let's do it at this. Let's let this run for a second. Why don't you turn the volume up over here one last time? All right, we'll fade out on you. Andrew Davis, ladies and gentlemen, Roman Anton podcast, and our good friend Tunethulhu playing. So Andrew, Maestro, let it rip. Let's see what you do.
Yeah,
we'll give you a little bit of
guys.
time here. We'll keep it recording.
patched up here. We'll try this. It's a little risky. It's gonna be messy right now. It's
Nice.
messy.
I'm digging it.
You ever play on a big muff pedal? Some guys have redesigned that for this, like the classic distortion.
Wow, that's such a great like panning effect on that one. Right?
Oh yeah, is that panning across?
It sounds like it here.
No, we're getting nothing here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, here we go. Andrew Davis, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go out and hit Soi 8, see what's going on out there. Thank you, Frank. Thank
Cool,
you.
thanks, guys.
All right.
So,
It's awesome.
hardly a successful
That was
run,
awesome.
man, but it's fun. This is kind of the basic patch here.
So we're on Andrew Street. We're on Soi 8 and Sukhumvit at Det 5. It's a place that he stops by on his way home a lot. So
That does happen.
yeah. So it was really interesting watching the synthesizer. You know, just sort of the randomness of it, but it was very beat-driven. I didn't think it was going to be as beat-driven.
Yeah, you can take it in two different ways. You can, so sometimes you can go like full ambient or melodic, but in that situation, it's just easier, I think, just to go with the beat, and it's less mistake prone, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got to do that. So I just wanted to sort of close that out. So this is your neighborhood here. You're right in the middle of the city. You've lived here for a long time now, right?
Yeah, the entire time I've been in Bangkok.
Right. So it's rare that people find and stick in their first spot, or maybe not rare, but rare for people I know. So, do you guys eat out a lot, or you cook at home, or do you hit the street much? Do you eat much on this street?
50-50. I mean, we hit this street has great food as between the Monsoon Viva here. So half the time.
Yeah, we'll walk down this in a little bit and take some footage going that way, but I think Andrew's talking about a couple of the restaurants, Monsoon and Viva. There's the Kiwi.
Kiwi used to be there, and then they moved, and now they're kind of in the back of an alley. They're still on the road, but they're hidden.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I mean, you have your places to stop at. Saw a couple of coffee shops at the end of that street as well, and then some massage places you can stop into on the way home. But good neighborhood, and like we said, if you go back down this way, you're going to be back at the Benjikitty Park, Queen Sturgis Park, the way to Lumpini, where we went with Charlie McScallywag and hung out. But so
is that a real name?
Yeah, for sure. He's a real name, real musician. I'm sure you've seen him a bunch of times.
Okay.
Do you like Thai food now? Do you eat a lot of different Thai food?
I think I have to now. I don't have a choice.
Are you getting hotter?
Kind of. I don't dare so much.
Yeah, I don't notice that the Baltimore cuisine is known for its spiciness.
No, we've got the Old Bay. That's about as far as it gets.
Yeah. So what type of dishes do you eat at home?
I mean, we do the food panda, if I can call food panda.
No, but I mean like Thai food. So is it gonna be lots of pepper, spice, chili, or are you gonna mix?
So the wife's mom comes over and she makes the traditional like pat CEO and all those soups that you know, but I don't know the names of.
Yeah. Do they make a farang version for you and a spicy version for the rest of the family, or?
Well, the kids get the no spicy version, so I just eat half of their food. So that's why they're skinny, I think.
Are they acclimating to heavy Thai food, or are you going out and getting burgers with them, or what?
Both, I think. So one of them eats spicy food, the other one won't at all. So.
Right.
Yeah, having twins is weird because you get this little, this mini social experiment in the middle of your life where here's two non-identical twins that we're going to raise the same way. Let's see how the genes take over. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough. So, are they in school yet now?
Yeah, they're in school. They go to an English school
nearby here.
Yeah.
How do they get there?
Every morning I walk them a kilometer there, walk back.
Where is it?
We actually pass through this school behind me, and that takes us down to another road, and then we walk through. So I think the people at that school must think we go there or something.
Right,
so
right.
We walk through.
So it's on Nana?
Yeah, right on Soi 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
that's tight. Your world's pretty tight.
Great upbringing right there, yeah.
Yeah. And so how about your music supply companies? Are any of them close by here?
I actually have no idea where it is. I just know it's in Thailand.
So they mail to you, so you don't even try to.
Yeah, I think it's a big warehouse.
Stop by and look at the circuitry.
I don't need to. Yep.
Yeah. And so I didn't really sit with you in front of the board, and I didn't ask you to take it apart. And before the show, you took the paneling off to fix a short that we had, or a unplug that we had.
Sure.
I mean, part of what I'm really impressed by what you're working on is the way you put the board together. And so you learned, I don't know the terms you use, engineering circuitry, or you've learned how to put the stuff together, right? So the first part of this detail is learning the backside of this, right?
Sure. So I have no background in this. I just kind of learned it from the internet.
Yeah.
And it's not super complicated. It's like a big Lego in a way, where the guys that make the boards will give you they'll give you the board. If you want a panel, they'll give you the panel, and then they'll give you a bill of materials. And then from there, it's kind of like figure out where everything goes. It should be labeled on the board, but not always. It's pretty sloppy. And pieces can be swapped in for other things. So if you swap out one piece, your LFO will go fast. If you swap in another one, it goes slower, and then you can. So it's like a highly variable Lego, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to see. I mean, when you pulled it apart to tighten it up, I guess that's the back end of everything we use is like that, right?
Yeah, sure.
Some bunch of wires and
it's funny because I never knew anything about it. But like last Christmas, the Christmas lights didn't work, and I'm like, oh, soldering iron, I got it, and can make it go.
Right, and then the question is, are you energized enough to fix things like that, or do you just get new ones, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Sure. Well, that's interesting. All right, so I mean, to get back to like the neighborhood and stuff, so we have some friends that live in different parts of town. You a motorcycle taxi guy?
I am.
I've seen you. So you're a big man. You're 6'9" No, you're tall. And you're
I've only been turned down once.
right.
One time.
Do you ever hit your knee on anything?
No.
The amazing thing on the back of these is for you and for me, because we're 6 feet. They're not used to the taller passengers, right?
Right.
So 6+. Your legs stick out, and you're in this tight traffic going very fast, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's a social contract. I mean, it's a.
You watch your ass.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can cuss on this,
You
but
can,
you watch your ass.
Yeah, but you go all the time. I always notice when you show up, you're jumping off a motorcycle.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd rather do that for 5 minutes than sit in a taxi for a half hour.
Right. It really is the difference, right? Because
you accept the bad hair and you roll with it. So.
Well, and the taxis acknowledge that cars go slow and motorcycles go fast, and motorcycles get to drive in between.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, it's really. I don't do it a lot when I'm carrying stuff, and I'm usually carrying stuff, so.
I think you see them all the time with a massive amount of stuff on their scooter behind them. If they can do that, then they can carry me.
For sure.
A more responsive passenger.
Yeah.
So.
I should have asked Ike if he's still taking them around. I never asked him, but he might be a little too big, right? He might.
I mean, I assume they could do it.
But it's the height issue, right?
His knees must take up 2 lanes.
Right.
So.
Right, we'll have to ask him podcast too. Ike, no, can you fit on the back of a motorcycle? But yeah, well, good. Well, so we talked about where you traveled vacation. You've gone to Chiang Mai. You mentioned Wahan recently. Your family's from what part of the country?
In the States?
Here.
All from Bangkok.
Okay, so they grew up here, and so you don't go off to some.
So there's no like Hat Yai trip or anything like that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. All right. Yeah. How about other discoveries? Do you do any of the museum stuff, or do you go out? Do any of the?
I haven't. Here's a random one for you. You ever hear of the serial killer museum they have here?
I have not heard of the serial killer museum here.
There is one of these that has where they've dissected serial killers, and I want to go. I want to check it out.
Like Jack the Ripper or Thai ones?
I think they're Thai. They're Thai, like famous Thai killers, I guess they've gone through, and so yeah, weird.
Yeah, I've gone to the Museum of Contemporary Art in Bangkok, which is fantastic. I've gone to the Throne Hall, Dusit. I've gone to some other ones.
Okay.
I went to the Museum of Opium up in Mae San.
Is there an opium museum?
Yeah, on the border up there, and it's about the history.
How's
on the Golden Triangle. Yeah, it's not like that, but it's pretty interesting because it's more than just.
So it must be all the way north.
Yeah, it's right in the Golden Triangle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right. It's an interesting place. I mean, I enjoyed it, but there's some good museums down here that I've gone to. I've gone to for work functions or for other functions, just going with my parents or whatever. But
I want to go back. What do they have in the Museum of Opium? What do they?
Well, I
didn't know opium was like all the way down here. I thought it was more of like a.
It's up in the Golden Triangle. So you're on the border. It's right. You can see 3 countries: Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, right there. And it talks about the trade and who was in control and how it worked and when the high point was and when the low points were.
Right.
And it's just an interesting part of the history up there.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Now there's a big coffee movement up that way. I guess that area is fertile for coffee as well as other things. But I think it's an interesting historical piece. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, all right. So what else we got going on around this neighborhood? Basketball. We met. Do you still go to any of their public courts?
I can't play anymore. My back is.
Okay.
My back has decided that game time is over.
Yeah, because the guys are still playing at B Pro and Sawtorn. So Jose and Dre and the guys, right?
Which is such a shame. I miss that more than anything. But
would you play if it was a wood court indoors?
I don't think I could play at all.
All right, so.
I move my foot sometimes. My back goes out.
All right, there we go. So he's writing it off. It sounds premature to the viewing audience and me, but if you got to do that,
you never know. Maybe one day I'll make an Ali come back to the ring. But
right, there you go. I think here's what we're gonna do, Andrew. It's good seeing you, man. It's been a while. I'm glad to see the family's going well. The synthesizer is awesome. We got to get that. We got to get that lit up before one of our shows and just let it run through the PA at one of these places we play. It'd be fun to hear that, right? Get a nice, good bass, get some good sounds going. It might be fun if we brought that over to Dynamic Studios because Runkan Titiasuk was our third podcast, and he talked about it, but he just bought this super duper woofer for his studio that he can record low. But I think he'd love to run your thing through it.
That'd be really cool.
I already forgot the name.
Tunethulhu.
Tunethulhu. All right, I'm not going to forget that.
I mean, that's just my random name for it.
Yeah, cool. Well, we're going to finish some beers here. We got some food coming, and then we're going to take a walk down the street, and we'll film some of that. But it was good seeing you, bro. I appreciate it.
Well. Hey, thanks a lot for letting me be field.
All right, thanks.
1, 2, 3, quiet.